Well, as the poem goes, at first they came for Alex Jones, but you said nothing because you didn't like Alex Jones. Then they came for Donald Trump, but you said nothing because you didn't like Donald Trump. Then they came for the January 6ers, and you said nothing because you didn't like the January 6ers. And now they are coming for journalists.
Gotta be kidding me.
Look at that. Perp walk.
It's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Viva Frei, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, and the news of the week that you might not have heard, what with the Fani Willis debacle of a hearing that was mighty fun to watch. The news of the week is that a journalist by the name of Steve Baker, a journalist at Blaze TV, was arrested for his participation, for his journalizing the events of January 6th. Now, Steve Baker was an independent journalist at the time. He has recently signed on with Blaze TV, and last week he was told he was going to be arrested after something of like a multi-year, from what I understand, investigation. Apparently he was told last year sometime that he was going to get arrested, and he's just sitting there waiting for the arrest to come in. He was arrested, and he was brought in on 4 misdemeanor charges of parading and picketing, entering a restricted area, whatever are the standard charges that they've been levying against the January 6ers.
Knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority. Now, that's one he's talked about. And he said, look, I'm a journalist, and I know, even as a journalist,
The New York Times was there.
I'm not allowed to be in these buildings, even if I'm covering these stories. However, the fifth person through a broken window to enter the Capitol was a New York Times journalist, and they are not being charged.
And he didn't enter through a broken window. The other 3 charges.
Disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building,
Didn't happen.
Parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building.
Didn't happen.
Now, from what I understand of the reporting, he knew that he was under investigation for some time. He was told some time ago he was going to get arrested, but they've gone ahead and done it. Arrested yet another independent journalist. You'll recall that they arrested also a man named Stephen Horn, who I had on the channel, an independent journalist out there journalizing the events of January 6th. He entered the premises. He was there with his camera recording what was going down, documenting it. He too was arrested. Luckily, he was spared jail time. He was given 12 months probation, I believe, and something of a fine, but he was spared jail time, which is an exception for all of the people of January 6th, some of whom are spending years and years, if not decades, behind bars for non-violent offenses. Some of them weren't even there the day of, but lo and behold, seditious conspiracy, you know? So Steve Baker was there as an independent journalist, and we are now, March 3rd, March 3rd, 2024, and he's finally only now getting arrested on 4 of these bogus charges. There is some theorizing that he might have gotten the eye of the Justice Department or whoever the heck is in charge of this political persecution because he got signed on with the Blaze and his work was getting maybe more eyeballs than it had gotten before. I don't even know. The outrageous thing about this is that he's so clearly a journalist that the January 6th committee was using the fruits of his journalism in the context of their bogus sham kangaroo court hearing of a January 6th committee formed by an unlawfully formed committee that didn't have their quorum, that didn't have the requisite bipartisan nature to it, except for those traitors, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Yeah, and just so that I don't forget it, a member of our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community gave me 2 phone cases so that I can remember and recite the Serenity Prayer whenever I need to. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm not yet at part 3 of the Serenity Prayer. So the sham of that bogus kangaroo court January 6th committee actually uses the fruits of this journalist's labor in making their propaganda montages of what they claim went down on January 6th. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It was a Fedsurrection, a MEHAP, a Mohawk, whatever. Made it happen on purpose or let it happen on purpose so they could do exactly what they did with the events of January 6th right up until the present day. And now they are going after journalists. Is anybody going to get up and say anything, even if they think they don't like that journalist or what that journalist was journalizing about?
Steve is in this footage in the Capitol from January 6th. He is up against the wall right there. He's either writing or he is checking the pictures on his camera to make sure he's gotten the shots that he wants.
Not even looking at what's going on. At that point, he's writing.
Yeah, he's not engaged in anything other than writing or something. And then soon he's going to move around the crowd, and he's going to stand in a doorway doing exactly the same thing except taking pictures.
Doesn't look very disorderly to me.
No, he's
No.
just texting or
Not a whole lot of
writing
parading.
notes.
You know, when I started my YouTube channel and I had a lot of Americans telling me up in Canada, you know, Viva, you think you have free speech up in Canada, but you don't really have free speech up in Canada. Well, my goodness, I've now come to the state of the free Florida. But I might be wanting to remind everybody who told me that back in the day, look at America now. Do you have freedom of speech here? Do we have freedom of speech here? I say it's much more respected than it is in Canada, but you've got a Justice Department going after journalists, literally arresting journalists for doing journalism. And it's not the one-off here. Just last week as well, Catherine Herridge, fired from NBC or CBS, fired from one of those crap propaganda networks anyhow, fired while investigating the Hunter Biden laptop story or the Hunter Biden, the corruption of Hunter Biden and his big guy 10% for the daddy Joe Biden, fired, has her stuff taken by CBS or NBC, whichever one it was, finally given back to her following sufficient public outcry. She was now held in contempt in the context of a civil court proceeding where an alleged potential Chinese, I don't want to say spy because I don't want to get sued for defamation either, but someone involved with the Chinese government, potentially whatever, was allegedly, according to Catherine Herridge, under some form of FBI investigation or something along those lines. And ultimately, the FBI never pressed any charges against this Chinese national. And the Chinese national then sued the FBI, I believe, and subpoenaed Catherine Herridge for the source of her information that this individual was under investigation by the FBI. And Catherine Herridge, being a journalist, First Amendment rights as a journalist, says, I'm not giving up my source no matter what you do to me. And you get some activist judge who seemingly does not understand journalistic freedoms, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, says, no, Catherine, we're going to hold you in contempt, $800 a day, I believe, until you reveal your source from the FBI or who told you that this individual was under investigation by the FBI. We'll see where that goes. It is a full-on attack on freedom of speech, individual liberties. The Constitution is only as valuable as the judge interpreting it, much like we learned up in Canada that our Charter of Rights and Freedoms is only worth whatever value a judge wants to put into it. And we are seeing the erosion, the outright erosion of what made Western democracies. And for those of you who want to nitpick, yes, the U.S. is a constitutional republic. We are witnessing the degradation of these United States of America, brought to you by POTUS, who probably has no idea what's going on. And by way of example, POTUS, or whichever intern activist is operating his Twitter account, tweets out today the following: we're the most diverse country in the world. That's why we're strong. Trump is threatening our very democracy, and we have to make clear that we will stand with the truth and defeat the lies. To which I responded, you just arrested a journalist. Steve Baker, in case you forgot his name, POTUS, you are the threat to democracy. So that's where we're at. I will be talking about this tonight with Robert Barnes during our Sunday night law extravaganza, Viva and Barnes Law for the People. We are doing our 200th episode tonight. By my math, assuming that's roughly one a week, that is roughly 4 years of Sunday night shows that Robert Barnes and I have been doing. It's amazing. It's a blessing. I found my ikigai, and we are going to talk about this and other important stuff, including his Amos Miller case up in Pennsylvania. Another situation where the government is trying to basically usurp the rights and freedoms of the people. It is no longer a government for the people and by the people. It is a government of the elitists suppressing the rights of the people. Damn, that's actually pretty good. I can't think of a better way to end this vlog. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Viva Frei on Rumble, the Viva Frei on Twitter, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, our wonderful community where you can choose to support the work that we do. $10 a month, $100 a year, or you can be a non-supporting member. It's a wonderful community where everyone is above average. More important than anything, get out there, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
In not only my investigations related to January 6th, but in discussions with my own attorney, who was a former federal prosecutor for 22 years. In fact, his first job back in the late 80s as a Department of Justice, attorney, U.S. attorney, was working as in-house attorney for the FBI. And as he told me, he goes, I worshiped those guys. I mean, it was everything that we used to think about them. They wore the white hats, they were the good guys. And he said, but that began to change. At first was accelerated by the implementation of the Patriot Act after 9/11, and then it really hit high speed when the Obama administration came in, because that's when, as he clearly stated, that they were going to fundamentally transform this nation. And that's when the decapitation of all of the three-letter agencies began to happen, and they began moving the white hats out.
Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters away? Where are they? You shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists.